in this wonderful book that you just published, Manipulated, which gives you a fantastic overview of everything that's happening in terms of social media manipulations, the cyber information war. So tell us a little bit about what's happening right now. What are the main things you found out when you were researching for the book?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I give everybody a little bit of a history lesson at the beginning of like, this isn't anything new. It's just that the grounds game that has been around for centuries, since there were two human beings walking the earth, that grounds game has been basically put on steroids from a digital perspective. And so you can have a very organic ground game or no ground game at all and make it look like something organic, authentic, and make it go viral. And what's interesting is for people who are reading the book now, I actually started this as a passion project 4 years ago, and was really passionate about exposing manipulation campaigns, fake personas, the bots that look like humans that were trying to get people to argue on both sides of an argument. But you know, once they got real humans arguing, they would leave us alone and move on to the next issue. And I really wanted to expose this because I felt like reputations of individuals, companies, industries were at risk. But most importantly, that the foundation of democracy around the world was actually at risk because many of the manipulators either have a biased agenda or they're actually nation states who are using manipulation campaigns to control their own citizens and to mess with citizens of other countries. And so I really wanted to kind of take this project forward, help people learn how to spot these campaigns like a pro, know what to do about them because governments cannot solve this. We can't make laws that are going to make this all go away. And we're not going to be able to do treaties that make it all go away. And big tech is really struggling to come up with technology solutions that solve it. So it's really going to be up to us to be part of fighting back and making sure that we're not manipulated on today's issues, such as COVID-19, such as picking a new elected leader, such as ending racism once and for all. Any of these major social issues that are going on right now, you better believe that manipulators are in the mix, trying to stir up trouble and not allowing us to have organic, authentic discourse.
Indeed, and you know that the United Nations now has two fora to discuss, you know, responsible norms of behavior for non-state actors and state actors in cyberspace. So what is your take now? Because there is this discussion, should we have treaties? The Geneva Conventions are enough, maybe not. Maybe we should be looking into another regulatory framework going forward because the nature of the threats are just so spread out and they have, you know, spread out through society, as you said, you know, shaking the very foundations of our democracies. What is your take on this, the open-ended working group, which actually will release a report next week, and the government group of experts that is supposed to prepare a report in 2021?
Yeah, I'm excited to see that the UN covered this topic. I would actually like to see an independent commission that's not considered to be political to be stood up from some of the best international bodies that we have today. So, you know, think about all of the best that we have out of the United Nations, out of NATO, out of the World Economic Forum, and actually create a council of experts with representation from the world's democracies to come up with what are our international accords going to be and be very basic about what's okay and what's not okay. I'd like to see a fusion center that is stood up every time a country has an election and have that fusion center not only be this governing body, but include big tech so that people have an easy way to report misinformation and manipulation campaigns. I identify in the book some of the best practices that exist today that need to be elevated on a global level. The election leading up to, you know, sort of the Le Pen and Macron, if you remember, there was a dump and dox campaign against Macron's campaign. And because France has a blackout where you cannot do, late breaking information about a candidate is not allowed during that blackout period. Thankfully, what happened with that dump and docs was deep fake documents were created and accusations were being made about offshore accounts and sort of illicit activities and illicit funding going on, all of which proven untrue later. But can you imagine the result that could have had on a voter psyche going in to cast their vote? And because France had this best practice in place, that didn't impact the decision of voters as they went in to cast their vote. So there's a lot of great practices already in place today. They need to be elevated and leveraged internationally. Otherwise, we're doomed. I mean, elections, 2016 and even 2018 globally, those were just warning cries. And the manipulation campaigns have actually gotten better. A lot of what Russia was doing that was identified in the Mueller report, they've already changed tactics. So there was a new report that came out that said they're basically allowing, for example, in America, they're watching Americans say something, and then Russian kind of fake personas and accounts are amplifying something said by an actual real person. They're also commandeering sort of inactive but authentic accounts and leveraging those accounts and leveraging hashtags. So they've changed their tactics, making it harder to spot, easier for them to hide, and making it much more insidious as far as the potential impacts on voters' minds and voters' psyches as they go to the polls.
Indeed, excellent points. The question that there are already best practices, both in the private sector, there is a wealth of knowledge. There is also within governments that already have cyber commands and cybersecurity departments within their Ministry of Defense and so on. So it's a matter of really bringing everybody together in order to sort of share these practices and actually work through them. So to wrap it up, what are the best things that you see happening going forward now, because we are being challenged every day, right? As journalists, we are every day being attacked in the media, particularly women. What are the main issues that you see that are some things positive that you see people could do in order to protect themselves if they have to be participating in social media activities?
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I do spend a considerable amount of time in the book talking about the danger that journalists are facing each and every day to make sure that the facts are reported, and you and your colleagues are all a target of manipulation campaigns, misinformation campaigns, and dump and dox campaigns. So what you journalists have to go through to make sure that the truth and the facts get out there, it's really scary what you face on a daily basis. So some of the things that you can do and others can do is, wherever possible, have an email account that's tied to your social media that is not attached to your bank account and to personal life communications, about your life. Separate those two. Wherever possible, if you have to give out a cell phone number, don't give out your real cell phone number, since you typically use that for multi-factor authentication. Have a burner number such as Google Voice, or leverage a calling service that you give out as a number that then actually calls your number. So think about different ways to create a few layers of defense around you. Think about, for example, using Proton Mail for things that are very confidential and sensitive. If someone's trying to break into your Proton Mail and they try too many times, it erases all the emails in there. So that's a danger, but yet at the same time, you don't have to worry about somebody doing a dump and dox campaign on sensitive matters. The other thing is we all need to have an easier way and take a more active role in reporting this. So if you see something, say something. So social media companies, and I talk about it in my book, How to Report It Today, they need to continue to make it super easy to be able to flag something and say, I think this is a fake persona. I think this is misinformation. I think this is a manipulation campaign. You notice they're trying, but the amount, the volume of posts that they have to keep up with, it's up to us to sort of feed that information to them even if you don't get immediate satisfaction, just understand it does feed the data that goes into their algorithms to try and spot those quicker and faster and either flag something as misinformation or actually get rid of the accounts altogether.
Indeed, indeed. So your company is also in Europe now. You work all over the globe.
We do. We actually have an office outside of London, and out of that practice, we do incident response. We do proactive reviews of companies and individuals, and we do offer our intelligence training out of our London office. It's now 100% virtual, so anybody can take it anytime, anywhere.
Oh, excellent. Very good. Thank you very much. A great pleasure speaking with you. Theresa Payton, author of Manipulated, a book that is a must-have for anyone and everyone because everybody's online today. Thank you very much, Theresa. Pleasure speaking with you.